Hello everyone and welcome to Creating Digital Learning Offerings that Maximize Diversity, Equity and Engagement in the Philippines, a roundtable discussion brought to you in partnership between Times Higher Education and Blackboard. My name's Ashton Wemborn, I'm the Special Projects Deputy Editor at THE and I'll be chairing today's session. So please do jump in or raise your hand at any point during the conversation if you'd like to add a point. The digital learning offerings that the higher education sector has rolled out in the last 18 months have ensured that students around the globe can access education despite ongoing disruptions. With digital tools here to stay, the sector has a chance to re-evaluate how it can use new technologies to maximise diversity, equity and engagement, increasing participation in higher education for learners from a wide range of backgrounds. So I'd like to begin today's discussion by asking what the benefits of online and blended learning have been, in particular relation to increasing access and enabling a more diverse student body. So I could come first to Bert today. If you'd like to talk to us a little bit about your experience at your institution, perhaps you could introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Ashton. I am Bert J. Tuga. I'm the president of the Philippine Normal University, teacher education university in the Philippines. Thanks for that first question. While listening to that question, I remember suddenly the experience of one of our faculty members in the main campus in Manila who handled classes in our provincial campuses via flexible learning during this pandemic. I think that's one good example that I can cite. Flexible learning is removing the boundaries imposed by face-to-face instruction. We can now have diverse students from all over the country. It is also a way to consolidate our human resources, especially if a campus may not necessarily have the expertise in a particular area. For your information, PNU's main campus is in Manila, and we have 4 provincial campuses across the country in Northern Luzon, Southern Luzon, Visayas, and in Mindanao. It will also rethink the idea of campuses as satellite of the main campus. In our case, in PNU, for example, may we now operate as a university without reference to the campus. This will also equalize the perception of the campuses to the main campus. The campuses will serve as a learning support hub. As I see it, PNU will now be a virtual university as well, thereby students from all over the country or from other countries may now be our students because online programs will make us more accessible and affordable to others. Our experience as a developing country provides a context that's shared by majority of the countries in the world. I think that is my response to your first question, Ashton. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very interesting the point that you raised about allowing greater collaboration if people can connect across timelines and physical boundaries as well. It makes it so much easier for universities to share ideas and for students to do the same. I wonder if anyone else has found some similar benefits as the ones that Bert has outlined there. I'll go to anyone that would like to come in, but Lord, perhaps? Or Antonetta?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting the Agricultural Training Institute. No, we're not actually part of higher education here in the Philippines because we're part of the Department of Agriculture, a training institute under the Department of Agriculture. But we've been offering e-learning since 2007, e-learning on agriculture and fisheries. We've been offering training programs for our extension workers. But even if our first clients or customers in the e-learning are intended really for extension workers in the municipalities, but through the years of implementing it, more and more students are accessing our e-learning courses, and we have partnered with various universities nationwide in terms of accessing the courses, opening this up to students. Actually, for the past 10 years, almost 80% of those who access our e-learning are students. 80% of them are students, basically because of our partnership with the universities in the provinces and in the municipalities. So for the past year, when pandemic came, we had a surge. We have increased. We have a surge in terms of users and in terms of enrollees and graduates in our courses, mainly because the content is there. No, we have ready content that is ready, that is ready, can be accessed by students. So teachers have used our courses as part of the learning sessions, learning sessions among their students. It's part of their curriculum, actually, specifically for agriculture and related courses. So the partnership we have with the universities has been increasing through the years. We started with just one or two in the regions, but right now we already have around a network of around 30 universities and schools that are working with us, that are accessing or partnering with us in our e-learning courses for agriculture and fisheries. And we're happy. We're happy that we've opened this up not only for extension workers or for advanced farmers in the field, but that more and more students are accessing the courses. So that's basically our experience for the past years.
Thank you. You mentioned that you've had an online learning offering since 2007. So I wonder how you've seen that change the diversity of your student body. Do you think that that's improved people's access to your institution?
Yeah, I think we have improved through the years, giving more access not only to those in the urban areas, but even in the rural areas. Actually, we have adjusted our offering of the e-learning. Before, it's purely online. Okay, it's purely online. However, since most of the topography of the Philippines is that we have certain issues in terms of internet connection, especially in the rural areas. So what we did is we've re-strategized in our offering and offered blended mode of learning. So there's the online plus face-to-face. So that's why when pandemic came, it was so easy for our partner universities to adjust, basically because they've been doing this already even before last year. So we've readjusted our resource. We've offered digital learning resources also that can be accessed offline, not just purely online, in terms of how we offer our courses, so that more and more students from as far as Surigao del Sur, even in coastal areas can access our digital learning resources, download them when they have the internet, and then study it on their own during their lull times. That's all.
That's great to hear. Sorry. And Sukarno, I see that you've got your hand raised. I'd love to hear from you about the points that we've just
read. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, our school has been having this 30% online modality, although not fully implemented. And one thing that happened in the pandemic is we were forced really to go full online. But the problem that we have met along the implementation for a year now is that some students have a problem with connectivity. Our students are all over Mindanao, and but we are trying our best, and I think we are one of the universities that provide leadership in our region, at least Region 10, in terms of the flexible flexible modality, and we see to it that we have a feedback mechanism wherein all our students are able to give the feedback on how these learning modalities are being delivered to them. And on the basis of their feedback, we try our best to really adjust our methodologies. And also there is this opportunity that we can now accept international students, although because of this online modality. And I think one of the is that we might be able to provide a full online program in the months to come, instead of just the 30% online modality. And so I think that will be all. But in terms of students so far, it's the same manner, because as a government school, we have sort of a quota. We receive new students about 3,000, and so we just have to limit. Although we are an 11 campus university, we are only one of the 11, and each campus really has a quota, sort of, and we have to limit. Many would want to enter our school. As a matter of example, we have our College of Nursing. 2,000 want to come in this semester, and we can only receive 120. So it's a problem how to select, because we have removed the scholarship and the exam, entrance exam. We have removed it, and so the acceptance now is based on the grades from your senior high school, grades 11 and 12. And so it's becoming more difficult because of this, so many enrollees. So maybe, Ma'am, that will be all for the moment. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. You mentioned that you've been collecting feedback from your students and they've told you that they'd like to return to campus, but I wonder if you also have found that feedback is useful when supporting students who might be struggling, or we've talked about problems, so are you better able to identify the students who need additional support via those sorts of feedback loops?
Pardon, ma'am, please.
Sorry, you mentioned feedback, so I wonder if you're better able to support your students because you can collect more feedback now.
Yes, we do, ma'am. Incidentally, I'm not privy to the very technical details, because we have a committee we call a Flexible Learning Committee, chaired by our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and the deans of the 7 colleges are members. And they try to come up with this mechanism of how to address the feedback of the students. But mainly, ma'am, it's the connectivity that is really a problem. And so even the evaluation of teachers are actually based on this situation that we have now. Recently, we have this Alter kind of teaching efficiency rating system. We hope to that our Board of Regents, we have been adopting it for some time, but we have to submit now to our board for just to make it official. It will be really reflect of the real needs of the times in terms of addressing the requirements of the students to learn the most from what we have now. So it is a continuing work, really, because of this pandemic.
Thank you. And Nicole, I'd love to hear from you on the changes you've observed in the Philippines higher education sector.
Some great points there by Chancellor Sacano, and particularly around that concept of flexible learning. What we have seen in the Philippines, and I work with a lot of clients around Asia Pacific, is that COVID-19 really forced people into online learning. And it became very apparent in the Philippines that that traditional view of online learning being synchronous delivery was actually not going to meet the needs of many students and learners because of those connection challenges, infrastructure challenges, and also just their home life and their general well-being. And so a lot of institutions, Ateneo, a number of them actually, very much were able to adjust their styles to talk more about flexible learning, and doing that in a way that is now using technology, but in an asynchronous manner, and even allowing really self-paced learning online so that students can learn anywhere at any time, through any device, to make that more flexible as well. And I think of all of the nations that we look at across Southeast Asia, the Philippines actually reacted very quickly to changing to flexible learning as opposed to just purely that traditional online learning that we might all be used to.
Thank you, Nicole. On that point of flexible learning and especially students self-pacing and having more freedom to learn in the way that works for them, that seems to be a real benefit of the changes we've seen in the last year or longer even. So I wonder, is this something that you would like to bring forward in your institutions? Would you like to continue allowing your students to almost design their courses themselves, or certainly design the way that they learn? Bonifacio, I wonder if you have been thinking about allowing students to have a little bit more power over their own learning.
Yeah. Okay. My university is in the southern part of the Philippines. Now we are in Mindanao from the University of Southeastern Philippines, and I am with our university president in this meeting, Dr. Hinera. So if I may share, the University of Southeastern Philippines has been the recipient of projects funded by foreign agencies in partnership with the national government agencies also. And in early 2000, we established that Mindanao e-learning hub. And basically that time, what we are implementing now are the ones that we introduced that time, but it's a project-based thing. We designed program intended for teachers who are in different areas, that we can gather them together virtually. The mindset before is it's only intended for those kind of training and for those kind of clients. And along the way, programs developed. We offered it as a regular offering in the university, but very few are interested to take into those stream, no, in the delivery of courses, because of the mindset that it's better to take courses on the traditional face-to-face thing, until the pandemic came and we realized that should we have initiated and institutionalized that flexibility that we have almost 20 years ago. I think this is not a crisis that really have impacted most of the institutions, if not all, negatively. So right now, one advantage is that we have this realization that I think we should not wait to be just that reactive, because this technology are basically introduced to us to enrich, to improve our delivery. We have our systems in place, but the mindset, as I said, even in our strategic plan, we never thought that in our 15-year strategic plan, there will be lockdowns and the operation of the universities will be stopped totally. So good thing is we are now crafting our next cycle of strategic plan, and we have seen this with the futures thinking mindset. I think this should be the new normal, as they say, and our students should become more responsible. Our students should be more proactive also, the way the universities are thinking in this fourth industrial revolution, that whether there's a pandemic or there's any crisis, alternative modality and flexibility should be always in place, because in reality, our students, our teachers have unique resources, availability of whatever technology they have. And inclusive education in this context is actually more integrated and institutionalized, because if we have that mindset that still we are in the traditional setup, I think students, if we'll go back to the traditional setup, they have that realization that it's unfair. because the setup now actually is more ideal, and learning can be even more be creative and innovative. So I think that's the insight that I can share from our university.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Melinda, I see that your hand is raised. Did you want to respond to those points?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I do agree with the points raised by our colleague, Professor Cabales Jr. I am from the University of the Philippines Open University, and we've been doing online learning since 2004. So we are, as an open university, we are really into flexible learning, where agility, flexibility are the main pillars or characteristics or features of our course offering. Now, when we talk of flexible learning, I do believe, and agreeing to the points raised by Professor Gavales, that this is really what we can look for as the future of education. When we talk of the future, the university of the future, then I think we are looking more in the context of flexible learning, wherein we will be giving more freedom, more elbow room, shall we say, learner agency, empowering our learners so that they can design their own learnings and they can really learn on their own, considering their own context. Whether they are affected by the digital exclusion, they don't have ready access to a stable internet connection, then they can very well choose what kind of learning modality they can be part of. Also, we can look at how our degree program offerings will be affected by these other trends in education. We are also talking of micro-credentialing, nano degrees, etc., especially with the rise of the gig economy, which therefore calls for gig learning. And we are seeing an increase of that kind of learning among our students, the different types of learners, not only those who are traditional learners, those who are really part of the formal education system, but those who are requiring lifelong learning opportunities because of the fast-changing world of work. So the flexible learning is a very good umbrella to cover the different modalities, the different to answer the different learning needs of the various types of learners, be they the traditional learners or those who are seeking lifelong learning opportunities. So yes, to flexible learning, but we need to, as universities, as university officials, we need to be more decisive on how we are going to design the type of flexible learning that we are going to make available to our students, considering the different contexts. I mean, I can see the participants here in our roundtable discussion, and we are from different parts of the country, right? And we are representing the different contexts of learners. Therefore, it is the design on how we will be delivering our programs, the learning opportunities will really depend on the context of the learners whom we want to reach, and the kind of learning opportunities that we are going to provide to them, taking into consideration the specific mission vision of our respective universities. So that's it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. You raised a number of really interesting points, and I'd really like to go back to speaking about micro-credentials later today. But Melinda mentioned course design. That seemed like something you've been thinking a lot about. Did you want to respond to her comments?
Yeah, actually, Dr. Melinda has captured it perfectly in her response. But just to share our context in the university with regard to your second question, Ashton, currently we are actually implementing outcomes-based education in our teacher education curriculum. And as I see it, the outcomes-based education will thrive more in an online or blended or flexible modality. We believe that flexible learning is the key. It's anywhere or anytime education. And as we see it, structured curriculum and schedule, like we did in the past, daily, semestral, and trimester schedule, these things inhibit flexibility. if outcomes are defined and adequately measured, there might be students who can complete the program at a much shorter period. And I think universities could offer flexibility to include period of completion, individual students determining their courses or subjects that they will take, etc. But of course, without sacrificing the quality of the program. And I think the other things has already been mentioned by Dr. Bandalaria already. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think now it would be interesting to turn a little bit to micro-credentials and the short courses that we've briefly touched upon. I wonder if the panel thinks that there's still space for the traditional degree structure, so you study for 3, maybe 4 years, or do you think that we're going to rethink entirely structures and have short courses and modules that students can pick and choose, so that they can really learn from a diverse range of fields and disciplines? Josephine, perhaps I could ask you if that's something that you're considering. Or Melinda, please go ahead.
Yeah, can I share my thoughts on that? Yes, I do agree that we should move towards more of that, the micro-credentialing. And I think there is also this, I mean, we are seeing more and more massive open online courses, and they can lend themselves towards this micro-credentialing. There are other concepts like the different pathways to learning, multiple exits, entries and exits to earn a degree, for instance. So those things can really be considered a lot when we think of the future, the kind of degree programs that we can offer in the future, considering again the different challenges, especially in the workplaces, demands by the major industries, not only in the country but also in the region. We are also looking at, for instance, the pluridisciplinary degree programs, where in the traditional degree programs, as we structure them now, really deserve a second look or a further review. Of course, there are a lot of discourses coming in when we talk of traditional degrees, when we talk of micro-credentialing, and when we talk of pluridisciplinary degree programs. Because when we think about it, a degree, a specific expertise, for instance, when you are learning computer programming or taking a degree in computer programming, for instance, you should not only learn about computer programming or developing computer programs or systems. You should also learn or know the associated disciplines, even in the field, from the field of medicine, from the field of sociology, from the field of biophysics, for instance. So those things, the interrelationship among these disciplines, and not just one traditional discipline that is usually characterizing our traditional degree offerings. So, of course, these are just concepts at this point, but we are now looking into those features of a degree program offering when we talk of how our curricular offering should be in the future. And we are leaning more towards that, the micro-credentialing, but also characterized or also possessing this feature of being pluridisciplinary, or the convergence of related degree programs, but with one focus, as I have cited an example of computer programming. So this is the kind of discourse that is happening now in my university, in rethinking in terms of the degree programs and the configuration of the degree programs that we will offer. So micro-credentialing will definitely come into the picture. Massive open online courses will definitely come into the picture, and among other things that we are looking into. So that's it. I mean, I cannot explain it in a more concrete term right now, because there are still concepts that we are looking into at this point.
No, it's very interesting, and it's great to hear that you're rethinking such a traditional, long-standing degree structure to make it work better for your students. Nicole, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen across the industry is there's a lot of individuals, a lot of institutions thinking about micro-credentialing around these concepts of bite-sized learning, right, and towards lifelong learning, and for a couple of reasons. And one of those is also to think about alternative revenue streams for an institution beyond that traditional courses and programs, to be able to offer learning and teaching, which is part of your core business, to new markets. But one of the biggest challenges has been being able to map your curriculum. To be able to do micro-credentialing effectively, you really have to be able to define exactly what the learning outcomes are from the smallest level against an assessment or a criteria, all the way up to a course, a program, even through to your graduate attribute. And then when you think about how that maps to accreditation standards, it's a very complex world. And we see a lot of institutions struggling to manage their curriculum overall. Even though technology should enable that, it's a very difficult task to be able to map out.
So, yeah, Nicole, can I say something on that? And that's how important the outcomes based. I mean, that what was mentioned earlier by our colleague, Professor Tuga. So, we're always have to be focused on what outcomes do we really want to see, and that will help us in mapping the curriculum. I mean, and in putting in place all these features that we want to see in the degree programs that we are offering. So, we should always be guided. But what exactly is it that we want to see? The learning outcomes that we want to see among our graduates. So I think we will go back to that guiding principle. Thank you. Sorry.
No, not a problem. Thanks, Melinda. Nicole touched on the idea of assessment and I think accreditation as well. And I think that the difficulty with micro-credentials is that I think we're not quite sure yet how to give a student something at the end of their experience, their learning experience, that says you've learned this thing and you can go and do this job with it, since it's so self-designed. So are any of you considering the way that we can allow students to design their own courses and their own learning experience, but still let them leave with something that says, I have worked hard and I've understood what I've been taught? I wonder if we could go to Renee there. Not a problem if not. Manuel, maybe we could hear from you. No problem. And maybe we can go back to Bert on this one.
I think my response to that is related to my previous statement. I believe that the curriculum should be customizable based on what students desire to learn. And I think what universities should control are the outcomes and not the specific courses. I anticipate that eventually universities will just offer a menu of courses students will choose from. What remains to be relatively stable would be the program outcomes, but the content by way of specific courses will vary and change as needed. I also think that designing the best learning experiences is what is expected now of our faculty members, and not the traditional expertise in terms of content, which is often a fossilized knowledge.
Thank you. And Bonifacio, are you also having similar discussions at your institution regarding micro-credentials and assessment?
In our experience, we have a number of extension programs that we offer in the university. Maybe we are not calling it that way, but in our experience, as I said, we have provided services granting specific skills and competencies with the intention of letting the students decide on what are those skills that really wanted to learn and master for employment purposes. But our problem really is on that mindset that it's better to have a degree as prescribed and recognized by appropriate agencies, because I think this micro-credential thing is will maybe only favorable and successful if there is that integration of same interest from the agencies and the industry, that indeed it will not be a competition of earning something and based on the title, because basically hiring will refer those 4-year course because that's the traditional mindset this time. But we have seen the relevance. We have industry partners that is telling us, can you design courses that is good for this type of individuals, because these are the kind of workers that we need in our company. But we need to go through the process of having it approved, and it's not within the guidelines that should be offered by a state university. So these things, I think, should be resolved. But asking on whether this is something that we can be considering, right, in the next years for higher education, I think it's a good thing to consider, especially in the current setup in this integrated technology with machine learning and the industrial revolution thing, that there are areas that they believe can no longer be applicable on a specific task, and which can be captured in this micro-credential thing, and they can be trained in a less number of years, and they can be productive. Thank you.
Thank you. I think when we talk about increasing access and widening participation, we often think about students who are joining the higher education sector, perhaps from their earlier life. But actually, we could also consider graduates and lifelong learners. And I think that's a point that you began to touch on there, Bonifacio, about once workers enter the workforce, if skills continue to change, demands change, technology changes, we have to continue to allow people to learn and to contribute to the workforce. So perhaps micro-credentials don't have to be the way that everyone gets their degree, but is something that universities can offer to maybe older learners as they move through the workforce. Chancellor Sicano, is that a model that you would agree with? Do you think that there's room for that sort of lifelong learning? Or perhaps Melinda, are you thinking a bit about lifelong learning at the moment?
Yes, definitely. Lifelong learning is something that we've been seriously considering and have integrated into our offerings. I mean, being an open university, we are really established to do that. I mean, reaching not only the traditional learners, but also the non-traditional learners, especially those who are looking for lifelong learning opportunities. In fact, the university was established in 1995, and when we were first established, we were referred to as the Second Chance University, because those learners who were not who are unable to be part of the conventional educational system, then we are there. We are there to give them that opportunity to be part of an educational ecosystem. So that is something that we have carried since 1995, and something that we are really that we really looked into. I mean, through the years. I mean, we've been here for more than 25 years, and that's also the reason why, in addition to the degree programs that we are offering, we are also we've been offering training programs to address the different learning needs, continuing professional development, especially for the teachers, And we've been offering massive open online courses since 2013, so that even those who have barriers for learning, like the cost of a course fee, etc., can also have that opportunity to learn through the massive open online courses. We have developed open educational resources and are also implementing the different forms of open education practices to provide for the lifelong learning needs of the different individuals, whether they are here in the Philippines or outside the Philippines. As I mentioned earlier, we are a completely online university, and 25% of our degree students are based outside the Philippines. For our massive open online courses, we have looked into the profile of our students, and especially during the time of this COVID-19 pandemic, we use our massive open online courses to provide for that kind of learning opportunity, especially for our teachers. So the different professionals also, we have different programs for them. So lifelong learning is really something that the university is into, given also the kind of instructional or the mode of instructional delivery that we are doing.
Thank you, Melinda. Antonietta, would you like to jump in there?
Yeah, I think that's why we are here, being a training institute for the Department of Agriculture, because that's what we believe in, lifelong learning, not only for those who have degrees, but also for those who, especially for our clients who are farmers, no, who are those in the rural area. So we're opening this up, and I'm happy to share that more and more of our farmers are becoming more aware that they have these resources that are available, that they can access, no? Especially since, you know, information is readily available already in the internet. Plus, of course, among the government agencies in the Philippines, it's not only ATI who's into e-learning, but also we have TESDA, the Technical Education Skills Development Authority, has also been offering MOOCs, no, to their training programs are already offered also online. So basically, that's why learning is not just for those in the universities, but also for agencies like us who have been into training and capacity building, no? And I think more and more people are trying to capacitate themselves, no, to access more information so that they can apply it in their respective fields, especially in the area of agriculture, basically because they want to go into urban agriculture, they want to grow their own food because of their experience of the pandemic. So we've been open. This is an opportunity. No, this is an opportunity for us to offer our training programs, not just for face-to-face, but also through various modes of learning.
Thank you. Chancellor Sicano, I see that your hand is raised there. Please do jump in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to multitask in many documents to sign. We have
no problem.
Of course, as an HEI, one of our mandates really is extension. And we have quite an array of that for all kinds of people, almost LGUs, you know, the old and the young. For God, something like that. One thing that I can share is our extension program that helps to capacitate the teachers in our Department of Education, in our nearby, even our city of Iligan and nearby municipalities, where our College of Science and Mathematics teach their teachers to improve their knowledge and skills in teaching the sciences. And so almost everything we have, every college actually adopts or have, every department that we have based on their programs have actually certain extension programs. But now, because of the pandemic, mostly are virtually done. So even in the case of the local, we have series of pandemic-related extension programs to our nearby municipalities, because we have experts, microbiologists and etc., who teach our LGUs among others and the community in general on how to address the problems of the pandemic. So health and safety is actually learned by most individuals. So again, because of the pandemic, those which can be done through virtual means are being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for many students, the aim when they leave university is to find a job, a good job that they enjoy and that they have been well trained for. So as the world changes so quickly, both in terms of in relation to the pandemic, but also technology is forever changing, how can universities understand what skills are going to be demanded by employers in 3 years or 5 years, or even far into the future? How can they understand what skills will be demanded from graduates, and then how can they teach those skills to students while they're at university? I think often people say there are jobs that don't even exist yet that graduates will enter those roles. So how do we tackle something like that? Bert, I wonder if I could go to you with that question.
Oh, I did not expect that coming.
No, not a problem. I mean, Melinda is also on hand, so please feel free to tell us.
Maybe we can go first to Melinda.
Yeah, well, actually, I think, yes, you're right in saying that some of the jobs in the future don't exist yet now, right? I mean, we've been reading a lot of that. But I think there are also some literature saying how can we prepare? How can we prepare our students or our graduates for the kind of work environment that they will be in after their graduation from our university. There are some before they are called associated skills, but now they are called essential skills like creativity, communication, leadership, etc., etc. So those are the things. They are even referred to as the competencies, 21st century competencies, and all those things. So I think yes, we have to be mindful of all those competencies that we need to teach our students, and hopefully that they will, our graduates will possess those competencies. But I think there is also the need for us to be mindful of what the industry, the direction of the industry. Therefore, it calls for a closer academe-industry partnership so that we will not be just in our silo. I mean, we will not be alienated towards what exactly is needed out there when it comes to the skills, the knowledge being required or demanded by the major industries specifically. We are also aware of this. I mean, it's not just a perception, but it is a reality of that gap between the knowledge and skills that our graduates have and what the industry needs. So we have to be mindful about those things. So therefore, if we are mindful, if we are conscious of what the direction of the industry. So like right now, we are still in the middle of our talk about the fourth industrial revolution, but there are also talks about the fifth industrial revolution, right? So, I mean, universities have not yet responded in terms of the needs of the fourth industrial revolution, and yet there are now talks, discussions about the configurations, the features of the fifth industrial revolution. So I think we have to know that, universities have to know that by having this close partnership with the industry, and for us to be mindful of the essential skills, that whatever will be the changes in the technology, whatever will be the jobs that will be there, that will be created in the future, then our graduates will be ready for them because of those essential skills that we were able to teach them. it is also critical that I mean it's not just the content. It's not just the content that they should be able to learn. And what I'm trying to say here is that when we talk of the different industrial revolutions, at the center of all these industrial revolutions are still the people. The people. These people will be the ones who will be creating the jobs of the future. These people will be shaping the future industrial revolutions. And these people, hopefully, will be our graduates. Hopefully, will be the products of our universities. They will be the ones to shape. They will be not only to man the industries, but also to shape the industry. So we have to think along that line. We have to think along that line and configure or restructure our offerings in such a way that we will be able to prepare our graduates to that kind of eventuality wherein they will be manning, shaping, and influencing the kind of industries that we have and the futures of this industry. So that's it. I mean, it's a complex world, but the key here is, I think, the bottom line, which is actionable at this point, is a close partnership with the industry, so that we will know where they are going. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. I think we've got a number of people who'd love to respond to. You raised a great deal of really interesting points there. So I'd love to go to Renee to hear your thoughts. Hi, Renee. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
The audio is a little bit quiet, actually. No, sorry, I'm not quite getting you there. Perhaps I can go to Nicole and we could maybe try and come back to you.
Sure, I will jump in. It sounds like Renee is very far away from the microphone. I was going to build on what Melinda was talking about in terms of that relationship and that importance of partnering with industry. And we hear a lot about this concept of public and private partnerships, or PPPs, in the industry. And there's a really great body of work coming out of the United Nations Economic Commission that talks about people first public and private partnerships, and really starting to think about a new model globally for PPPs that brings not only traditional PPPs are focused on value for money at the end of the day. The people first model says that it should be about value for people. And when we're working with industry and bringing industry and the university sector together, it's really important that we think about the social, the financial, and the environmental considerations, so that we really do leave no one behind, because education is something that is really fundamental to everybody, and everybody has the right to education. So when we partner with industry, making sure that we take that people first viewpoint and consider all of those requirements is really going to be, I think, vital to driving that next generation of learning and teaching.
Thanks, Nicole. I think we'll try and go back to Renee again. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better. Or in the meantime, maybe Bonifacio, you could speak to us about the industry partnerships that we've just been considering.
Thank you. In our experience, the University of Southeastern Philippines created the office called Career and Alumni Center, and actually this is the unit that the university is entrusting us to connection and linkages with the industry for the matching of competencies with our graduates and the industry demand. So we also engage our institution into membership with the government, academe, and industry network. And part of our curriculum design and development is the requirement for stakeholders consultation, wherein our industry partners are really needed to share their thoughts as to what additional skills, what are the gaps in terms of competency. Although we are receiving feedback that our graduates are doing well and they are employed, But we are worried actually with that news that our programs now might not be needed anymore. Our graduates are no longer needed in the next 10 years. So that is why in the curriculum design and development, I think the partnership and the kind of networking that should be established between the academy and industry is very crucial, especially in the mapping of the competencies, even in the conventional naming of the programs. I think that should no longer be given much priority, but as to what type of jobs and what are the skills that should be acquired that to make them more capable and responsive and useful in the future.
Thank you. We're just coming up to the end of our session here, so I think in the last less than 5 minutes actually, Bert, I'd love to hear from you just yes, in our remaining few minutes. Sorry, I think your audio is just muted at the moment.
Sorry. I think I do agree with strengthening partnership between industry and government to enhance the curriculum and also the kind of graduates that we produce. I'm just thinking while the others are sharing, because our university is a teacher education university and we produce teachers, and basically our industry are schools. So we are doing that already at the moment. But I'm just thinking like, probably we can consider also in a work immersion of our students, but not in schools. Probably we focus on the specialization or majorship of our students. For example, those social science teachers or majors could do community development work, or could do or conduct survey as enumerators, or support or as support staff for archaeological projects and so on. That experience basically in the industry that will further enhance or enrich their competencies. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that brings us quite neatly up to the end of our session today. So I would just like to thank everyone again for joining us and for bringing all of the insights from your own universities and the thoughts that you've been having on all of these, post-pandemic learning, what is the new normal, how we improve access. I think we've covered a great deal of topics here. But for today, I would just like to let you know that there will be an on-demand video available from today's session, and also we will produce a summary article. So please do keep an eye out for that and reach out if you have any further thoughts. If you would like to speak with us again, we're always keen to hear from you. So yes, once again, thank you everyone and goodbye.